Good evening. I'd like to call to order this public hearing for the Cave Creek Unified District's virtual instruction time model for the 2024-25 school year. Item 1.2, are there public comments? No. Okay. Item 1.3, adjournment of the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Public hearing is adjourned. All right. Now I'd like to call to order this business meeting for the Cave Creek Unified School District. Today is Monday, September 16th, and it is 6 o'clock. Item 2.2, our Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like everybody to stand while our student leader, Aviva Merchandati, will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2.3, roll call. All members of the cabinet are present. Dr. Pletnick, Dr. Hendrickson, Dr. Jensen, Mr. Dolezal, and all members of the board are present. Item 2.4, formal adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any changes? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, item 2.5, President's Report. Since our last meeting, which seems like it was a long time ago, I attended the Trust Policy Summit, which was very informative since we have a new plate of policies. That was very informative. Today I was at Horseshoe Trails for the kickoff of their Love of Literacy, and I had the great pleasure of reading to the kindergartners in Mrs. Siegel's class, and I read Llama Llama Red Pajama, one of my favorite books. I also would like to take a moment to recognize and express our deep appreciation and gratitude to someone who has been an essential part of the Cave Creek Unified District for the past 17 years. Miss Julia Scotto, who served as both the executive assistant to our superintendents as well as the secretary to the governing board, has retired to start the next chapter in her life. Julia has been the backbone of our board, ensuring that everything runs smoothly, efficiently, and with the highest level of professionalism. Her dedication, attention to detail, and unwavering commitment to our district have been remarkable. She has not only been a trusted colleague, but also a friend to many of us, always ready to lend a helping hand. On behalf of the entire governing board, both past and present, as well as our district, I want to extend our heartfelt thanks to Julia for her many years of service. Julia, your contributions have left a mark on this district, and you will be missed. We wish you all the best in your retirement and hope that it brings you joy, relaxation, and all the wonderful experiences you deserve, not to mention more time with all of those grandbabies. Julia is not here today because she is actually spending time with those grandbabies, but we wanted to acknowledge all of her service. And along with that, I want to welcome Jill Machin, who is now the executive assistant to the superintendent as well as the secretary to the governing board. And Jill has been in the district for 15 years. She spent over 11 years at Desert Willow and the last 3 years in the district office. So welcome, Jill. All right, that ends my report. Board comments.
It's been a busy month already. I have been able to most recently have coffee with the superintendent at Black Mountain Elementary, so it was nice to see parents show up and can discuss different issues within the district there. Also attended the first mountain bike race for both the Sonoran Trails and Cactus Shadows teams. We did have multiple podium at the races, both for Sonoran Trails and for Cactus Shadows, so that was a fun event in Flagstaff last weekend. And then just want to do a shout out to Allison Maysog. The amount of information that's going out on social media around athletics has been awesome and seems to just be bringing a lot of really good energy around the district. So thank you. That's it for me.
Just had one thing to contribute to. This past weekend, I did spend the Saturday at the ASBA delegate convention, so we spent a good chunk of the day talking about the political agenda for the ASBA going forward into the next legislative session, and we should have all the finalized information in a couple weeks for that.
Awesome.
All right. I also had the opportunity to attend the Trust Alliance seminar. It was great. They had some breakout sessions, and the two that I attended I found fascinating. One of them was on First Amendment rights, including social media, not just for students, but teachers and all of us, and understanding. I learned a ton about what you're covered under and what you aren't, and I think it's really important, and I would encourage all parents to kind of learn a little bit about that and learn and educate your children about what some of that means and doesn't mean for them. It was pretty interesting. And then also attended the session on books, curriculum, book banning, and some of the stuff that goes on and what that really means and what it encompasses. And we had a great presentation by the Flagstaff School Board, a couple of members from that who have taken a really strong stance and have done some really encouraging things. So it was interesting to listen to that. And then I also attended the Foothills Alliance CCUSD gathering, which is leaders and nonprofits and stuff. And I just have to really commend our superintendent, Mr. Dolezal, for his leadership. It was really interesting to watch how that part of our community comes together, and the way that he really was very intent on listening and very proactive in getting our kids and every opportunity for our students to get involved in that, including, I think it was the rodeo poster thing. I mean, there's a lot of art type things where a lot of our nonprofits up in this area are looking for, program art, poster art, and that type thing. And it's a great opportunity for our art students to get involved in that. So I just was super impressed, and I want to just acknowledge you for your role in that. And then I attended the Tech Talk Parents event, which was, again, another really enlightening thing with what goes on with this little beast right here, which we all know is an issue if we're not careful. So I, again, appreciate the role that the board has taken with our policy, K through 8, and then extending that on up through high school with some of the changes there. So that's it for me.
All right. So I, too, attended the Policy Government Summit. My heart goes out to educators in the room. I feel like you have to have a law degree these days. Understanding the legislative updates, sat through this fun session with the State Board of Education Investigation Unit. That'll give you chills. Attended complying with open meeting laws. That's kind of a big thing with the board. And then attended the strategies and school district case studies around policies, procedures, supplemental materials, so on. So very informative, especially being a parent and attending the district. So some eye-opening information. It was good. On top of that, able to sneak in a girls volleyball game, a couple JV football games. I definitely think our sports teams are definitely off to a great start this year. Joined some parents in hanging some sponsorship banners out on the field. And I, too, attended the tech talk around social media and how it applies to, I would say, kids as well as parents as well. So,
Okay, thank you. Item 2.7, Superintendent's Report.
President Busby, members of the board, I'd like to recognize Vincent Farrow, one of our Cactus Shadows Falcons, who completed basic combat training for the Army National Guard on August 9th. As part of Bravo Company 787 Military Police Battalion, Vincent did his training under the Army split training option for 10 and a half weeks at Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. This split training option allows 17-year-old students that have finished their junior year to complete basic training during the summer. After completing his senior year and graduating, Vincent will return to Fort Leonard Wood to complete his advanced individual training for his military occupational specialty, which is military police. Congratulations, Vincent. Good luck, and thank you for serving our nation. I would like to honor our Cactus Shadows Athletes of the Month for August, Logan Anderson and Tatum Nelson, both outstanding cross-country team members. I'd also like to congratulate Carter Brown for committing to Pepperdine Wave Baseball. Appropriately, We have waved goodbye to many balls hit by Carter out of the Falcon Stadium. Congratulations as well to Trey Shimon for committing to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical Basketball. Again, appropriate as we have seen him flying to the basket throughout his years at Cactus Shadows. I'd like to highlight a couple of our recent parent community education events. I know you all hit on some of those, but August 26th, we had the pleasure of hosting Dr. Lisa Stroman for our first parent engagement event. She presented her technology talk to teach parents and community members on how to use technology responsibly and safely. Over 100 parents were in the audience, and they were given valuable tips on how to keep their children safe online. It was very eye-opening and informative. Tonight, we are actually hosting our second parent engagement event at the Fine Arts Center. Not My Kid is presenting on teen mental health and giving parents and caregivers insight on how to model healthy coping skills and how to respond if a youth is struggling or needing support. Our next education event is October 15th, and the topic is teen dating and domestic violence, facilitated by the City of Phoenix and their Paint Phoenix Purple campaign. Tonight, I am very excited to also introduce Mrs. Carrie Gregory, our Director of Exceptional Student Services, to you and our community. Mrs. Gregory's professional education experience spans over 27 years in a variety of roles in special education. As a seasoned educator, her prior roles have been encompassed working as a special education teacher, coordinator, assistant ESS director, compliance specialist, 504 coordinator, and director of exceptional student services. This includes working in multiple settings such as charter, private, and public schools. In addition, she brings an extensive background in staff management and supervision, teacher training and evaluations, state monitoring, and program compliance. As a collaborative leader and communicator, she specializes in bringing educational teams together to provide top quality service and effective support for students with special needs. And last, but certainly not least, it is my pleasure to introduce Aviva Merchandani, a senior at Cactus Shadows, who is our Student Leader of the Month and on the dais with us this evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so incredibly honored today to receive the Student Leader of the Month award, nominated by the one and only Miss Barella. I'm truly grateful for this recognition by the CCUSD and receiving this award from all you lovely board members. Throughout my journey in the district, Mr. Dolezal has played such an important role in my personal growth, from being my principal to now the superintendent. I have watched these schools in this district grow with me through your leadership. Change isn't easy, and on behalf of my family and I think it would be a massive mistake if I didn't thank you personally for your role in my growth. My journey as a student leader began when I entered this district at Lone Mountain as a Lone Mountain Eagle. And then I moved on to being a Sonoran Trail Stinger, where I met Mr. Dolezal, and now I'm a Cactus Shadows Falcon. I've had many opportunities to grow, learn, and contribute to our community here, including being involved with so many clubs and extracurriculars on campus. As a member of the varsity golf team, I've learned that leadership doesn't always come from the loudest voice. It's about discipline, focus, and leading by example. In a sport like golf, it's so easy to get caught up in your personal performance. But as a Falcon, I learned that being a leader is more about being there for your team, no matter what. Leadership in our district taught me to have a voice of my own and allowed me to create a civic engagement-based club in our school called New Voters. In a world where so many voices go unheard, I realize it is so important to give those voices a chance to be heard. Today, this club has allowed me to connect with my community and understand the power that the students have to create real change. I'm grateful to the school and the district to giving me this opportunity to start this club. I've loved my involvement in the superintendent's cadre, which has allowed me to work alongside with the district leaders, including Mr. Dolezal, Ms. Jensen, and Ms. Barella. It's been eye-opening, and it has shown me how much thought, effort, and collaboration goes into creating a positive and safe environment for every student in our schools. It has also deepened my appreciation for everyone in our administration and all the work that they do behind the scenes. I'm grateful that this district has given me a platform where I can bring up issues that are important to me and other people in our student body. Balancing my extracurricular activities with the academic rigor of the IB program at Cactus Shadows has been challenging but extremely rewarding. The program has pushed me to think critically, challenge assumptions, and engage with the world in a much more meaningful way. It taught me to be resilient, and it taught me to time manage more effectively. As I reflect on my journey as a whole, I realize that none of this would have been possible without the incredible people who have guided me throughout my life. I want to thank my parents, my brother, Mr. Dolezal, Miss Barella, Miss Jensen. Shout out to Miss Thomas, who's not here with today, but she's been such a role model the last few years. My golf coaches have also played a massive role, as that I wouldn't be where I am today without that game or without them. Additionally, to my amazing teachers, who I see a few of you from like middle school, I want to thank you for your unwavering support, which has given me the confidence to pursue my passions, and I'm forever grateful to all of you. I'm here today not just as a leader, but as someone who has been shaped and raised by the community around me. Leadership is a shared responsibility, and I hope that we can all continue to inspire and uplift each other as we move forward. Thank you for this incredible honor.
And that concludes my superintendent report.
Okay. Item 3.1, call to the public.
Member Busby, if you, oh, go ahead.
Did I do something?
No, I'm jumping ahead, so you're good.
Okay. Call to the public. We do have a few, but I do need to read an admonition. Call to the public according to ARS 38-431.01H. Governing board members may not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public. The only allowable responses a governing board member may make are: 1, board member may respond if there is a direct criticism of the board member. 2, the board member may direct staff to look into a matter. Or 3, a board member can ask to have this item placed on a future agenda. Speakers need to be mindful of what they say when presenting to the board. Inappropriate comments could be considered slanderous. Each individual will have 3 minutes to speak, and when you come forward, please state your name at the microphone. Our first public comment is from Eric DeVore, and he will have 12 minutes because there are 4 individuals who have given their time to Mr. DeVore.
Okay. Good evening, President Busby, Governing Board members, Superintendent Dolezal. If you don't know my name, I am Eric DeVore. I am a 13th year teacher at Sonoran Trails Middle School. First of all, I would like to thank Member Ulmer directly for remembering me and my luncheon that I threw for my students at the end of last school year. It was a great way to end the year by having students participate and answer questions in various tenses, which is a major goal for that level in Spanish, as well as them having an understanding of the culture and the event itself. I heard the shout out last week because I always listen to the governing board meetings on my 30-minute drive home from work. After working in the district so long, it is important for me to hear what is going on from the district perspective. And when I listened to the last meeting, I felt that the overall impression from the dais is that you wanted to be more involved in what is going on in our schools and to see things firsthand, which is why I was mentioned by Member Ulmer.
I want to extend that invitation to you to come to my classroom anytime. There are many great things. In fact, my students are all working on a project right now and so far have done amazingly with what I heard today. However, I want to invite you to see the situation that is currently happening with our Spanish program at the middle school. There are a total of 11 Spanish classes taught at Sonoran Trails, and I, one person, right now am teaching all of them. 6 of these classes are officially my own classes, which consist of 3 different courses. The remaining 5 classes consist of another course taught to 7th graders in a different classroom, and this totals out to be 327 students. I am disappointed that no one beyond our middle school even knew what was going on in regards to the other Spanish classroom, and it wasn't until week 7 that I was even asked about some sort of financial compensation. I had directly asked about the compensation, which was the same time and email that I had addressed my 6/5 pay being incorrect for my first paycheck. I hadn't received a response, so I emailed again, and now in week 8, which is coming close to the end of the first quarter, I still have not received financial compensation for the work that I have done. The last email I received asked my hours, so I wanted to take a moment today to explain what my additional 12 to 15 hours look like regarding these extra classes. It starts with me having a different sub for that class on a daily basis, who probably doesn't understand at first that these are not normal sub plans for a teacher who has taken a sick day. These are sub plans that guide the students to get through and now complete our first unit of study in the course. They have to be very specific plans like this because when you have students that have yet to have a teacher at all, these plans take much of my personal time at home. When I have to read the feedback and data given by the sub, if the sub has given them to me at all, to create the next day's plans. This consists of a PowerPoint that leads the sub through the day. It also consists of a specific breakdown on the lesson plans of what each slides mean and how to execute them. There are also videos that I have to research that can explain some of the concepts when I am not able to physically be there for those students. And sometimes if I can't find anything, I have to create the video myself. Usually at the beginning of each class, I have my own students, my 8th graders, work on some sort of independent work, and the sub will swap out with me while I get the other class ready for what they're about to learn or any kind of housekeeping. On a side note, I have to hope that there are no tech issues for the sub because when I have reached out to the technology department, no one is available. I said twice, I have to update this morning 3 times, which happens commonly with my colleagues as well. I'm sure that if you were a parent of a student in this class with no permanent teacher, you'd be concerned too. This is why I have to spend a lot of time reaching out to these parents when I send not only mass emails to keep them up to date with what is going on, but also have to deal with the individual questions and concerns from them, which can range from their child being absent, which I'm not always sure about because I don't know them all personally, to questions regarding 504s and IEPs that I have to give all their feedback to the case managers and to the counselors. Their Google Classroom is updated on a weekly basis, giving them dates for assessments and their weekly homework grade, which I create myself. I'm sure you can finally imagine that the culture of this classroom has become somewhat chaotic. If you have a room of 34 to 35 12-year-olds in a classroom with a substitute on a daily basis, some of which have no classroom management at all, I'm sure you can understand this can make things more difficult, but also negatively impacting the school as a whole when these students try to bring these negative behaviors into other classes and on our campus. Therefore, I stand before you in a difficult position, like a double-edged sword. On one hand, I could say to you, I'm done. This is too much. I haven't received very much support or even been asked by many people on what they can help me do in this situation. However, that would send a message to these students, to these parents, and about this district as a whole. However, on the other hand, what am I indirectly telling my colleagues? These are the teachers, that when difficult situations arise from above, that we are just going to swoop in and fix everything for free and try to create solutions with no financial compensation or assistance. So I am sending that message to them. We would like to encourage board members and upper administration to reach out to teachers directly and ask us questions about what is happening, whether they have concerns or want to showcase what their students are learning. I want to encourage today teachers to speak up and say what they are concerned with that may prevent them from doing or being their best. because they are overworked. And in a district that is not comparable to any other school districts in Maricopa, even though upper administration is comparable to neighboring districts, some of which are the better paid districts in our county. Ask them about the extra work that is being asked on School City and how many hours that takes them, or Vector for evaluations and their concerns for all the work they have to do in their personal time because it's not supposed to be PLC time. And ask them if they feel like this kind of work has been read by the end of the school year when they have put in so many hours. Ask them about their concerns about what their kids really know and understand beyond anything that is on a standardized test. Such as in my class when I review the months of the year with my 8th graders, and most of my students don't know how many days are in each month. Or when I ask them who Spain's neighbor is, many of them say Europe, which tells me they don't know the difference between a country and a continent. Meanwhile, we are encouraging those same students to take IB and AP World History with a distorted view of where things are on a map and in this world. While I understand when you work for district or upper administration, I appreciate that there is more than just what is happening in the classroom itself directly. However, I think that whenever anybody thinks about school, education, or a school district, the first thing that they think of is the professional relationship between teachers and the students and the learning that goes on between them. These are the things that I want the dais, or anyone that wants to be on this dais, to see and fully understand. That we have things going on in these 7 campuses that need support from above, and that there are more important things going on when it comes to our students than just rectifying a vacant building that we possess. I encourage you to look into this situation regarding these 5 extra Spanish classes. Think about what we can do to have learning in the classroom, but be careful about what message you send. Because having students on a free tech program such as Duolingo, for example, will not work. When you look at the long-term data for it, many users say after a couple of years that they still cannot speak the language. It also gives the message indirectly that technology can just simply replace a teacher in the classroom. Like the message that when we hire someone who may know how to speak Spanish, because that's where they come from, that they automatically must know how to teach the language as well when we hire these guests from outside our country. I am here because I have dedicated 13 years now to you in this district, and I have a lot of care and concern for it. I stay here because I love the people I work with. They are like my family. But I have my own family too now, and that takes precedence. We need to keep our teachers that have years of experience in this district and a passion for it. So I am not standing up here for myself and my family. I am also here to stand up for our teachers in our district and beyond when it comes to education. And I know that they will stand for me today. Thank you.
Mr. Dolezal, can I please have the admin look into that compensation, please?
Absolutely.
Superintendent Dolezal, can we add this to the agenda as far as language? I think it would be good to understand our full capacity of language.
Yes, sir.
Our next public comment is from Kathleen Thorius.
Superintendent Dolezal, members of the board, thank you. I'm Kathleen King-Torius. I'm a parent here in Cave Creek. Over 4.5 million U.S. children live in households with unsecured firearms, and up to 76% of children who became school shooters got their guns from their own homes or the home of their relatives. And many got their guns directly from their parents, who directly or indirectly allowed their children access to guns used in almost 450 school shootings since Columbine in 1999. I was really disappointed that 3 of the current board members voted against the firearms safe storage resolution recently brought to the board by Vice President Walker, after it was removed without explanation from the agenda in February 2023. And I'm just as disappointed in the reasons these members shared for their opposition. A board safe storage resolution is not an indictment of our community for their decisions to own firearms or keep them in their homes. Respectfully, President Busby, a safe storage resolution is a resource that recommends evidence-based ways we can work together with our community to ensure our students' safety in schools. Respectfully, members Ulmer and Moore, it is not overreach to make a non-binding request of our community simply by distributing information in a student handbook a letter home, or a parent education session like the one that's happening tonight on preventing depression and treating anxiety in our students and children. Rather, voting yes in this resolution would have exemplified the number one operational value that this board voted on in 2023, and that is keeping students at the forefront of decision making. Whether it is an election year or not, and whether you are a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, a conservative, or a progressive, if we must, and we must, require our educators and students to endure active shooter drills in Cave Creek schools, we certainly can ask our parents in our community to safely store their guns and ammunition. God forbid we have a school shooting here. Likely the parents and teachers of the 338,000 children who've experienced gun violence, and the parents and teachers of the 43,000 children who have been directly exposed to gunfire in their schools, shared my very same worry, and then it happened. We know that this kind of a resolution impacts and is part of a holistic approach to keeping our children safe. More than 8.5 million students attend schools with these kinds of resolutions, including many in Arizona. Please set aside any political pressure you're feeling. Please extend your thoughts and prayers to nonpartisan, common sense policy and change for our children. And Vice President Walker, I urge you to reintroduce the resolution, and I ask the board to vote in favor.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 4 point,
Sorry,
sorry.
can
go
we,
ahead.
I'd like to add that as a future agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Member Walker.
Sorry about that. Item 4.1 are Students of the Month. It is with great pleasure and pride that we come together to celebrate some truly exceptional students, our Students of the Month. Each month, we are privileged to recognize students who exemplify the core values of our district: perseverance, leadership, compassion, and excellence. Tonight, we are not just honoring academic achievement, but also the qualities that make our students well-rounded individuals and future leaders. The renowned American author and poet, Maya Angelou, who once said, "Success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it." This perfectly reflects the students we recognize today, who have not only achieved success, but done so with passion and dedication. Our Students of the Month have pushed their limits, inspired their peers, and made their families, teachers, and community proud. Whether excelling in academics, arts, athletics, or leadership, they remind us that greatness is achievable with hard work and commitment. As we honor our Students of the Month, let us also remember that their achievements are not solely their own. Behind every successful student stands a network of supportive parents, caring teachers, and a community that believes in their potential. It is this collective effort together that nurtures the growth of these remarkable individuals. To our honorees, congratulations. You represent the very best of the Cave Creek Unified School District, and we are excited to witness the incredible contributions you will make to our world in the years to come. And with that said, I would like the board to come up here. All right, our first Student of the Month is from Desert Willow, Harrison Blackburn. From Desert Sun Academy, Stockton Millard. From Horseshoe Trails, Connor Sauer. And Leo Miller. Right, Horseshoe.
Congratulations.
Our Lone Mountain Student of the Month, Remington Zeese, is not here tonight, but we would like to still recognize him. From Black Mountain, Olivia Taylor.
Congratulations. Is it Columbine McLean or McLean?
From Sonoran Trails, Broden Collentine McLean. Cactus Shadows, Matthew Page.
Congratulations. Well done.
And also from Cactus Shadows, Jacob Woods.
Congratulations. Good job. I know.
Parents, you can come up in the middle now too, if you'd like.
Congratulations again to all of our students. And we will take a short 5-minute recess, so if you're kind of wanting to go out and celebrate Student of the Month, now's your time to exit. If you'd like to stay for the remainder of the meeting, please stay. All right. Item 4.2.
All right, folks, we're bringing this back to the house here. Come on.
All right. Item 4.2, our financial presentation presented by Dr. Pletnick.
Good evening, President Busby, governing board members. I am going to give you our first financial update of the new year for this year. As you know, July and August and part of September, we work in multiple years financially. So the budget is finally beginning to settle for us. And as the dust settles, I would like to give you an update on some of the various items. October 8th, you will be receiving the annual financial report. So that will close our fiscal year 24 out. And again, that's going to happen on October 8th. My department is furiously working to get everything prepared for that financial report. A couple of key items that are in the news just to keep you aware of. The first one is the ESSER 3 funding. So the final piece of that COVID funding, that ends, and we have to have everything closed out by September 30th. So if you look, and Ms. Reese, our Director of Finance, has done a fabulous job in capturing the last of our expenses. We are at about $800 that we have to earmark for that grant. So if you are seeing on the news or you're seeing some of the updates that go out with the districts who have not spent their money at this point, we are down to about $800 out of the $4.4 million. So over time, we have done a great job of just finding every little bit and piece we can of that ESSER funding before it goes away on September 30th. The other piece that we've done in August is we've been going out as a department and trying to meet with all of the school staff. So we have made it to the schools to just talk about where we are as a district, some good tips also on how to handle finances, what we're looking at that we have to legally abide by, just to educate our teachers and our staff members. And we've also spoken to our club sponsors, and we've had a coaches meeting. The next meeting we're going to have tomorrow actually is going to be with our booster clubs. So our booster club meeting is going to be tomorrow, and then we're also going to have a PTO meeting as well. Now, the final piece that is beginning to close out that you have heard of over the past few months is the Casemeyer versus Maricopa County. And this has impacted property taxes for the past 9 years. And just kind of a reminder, it has nothing to do with the district. It is the county assessor in Class 3 and Class 4 properties. So essentially primary residence and non-primary residence or rental properties, and the taxation of those and the assessment of those properties. So what happened on that as there was a lawsuit that did alter the calculation for the limited property values, which then resulted in overpayment of taxes for some of those properties. So on that side, that impacted the primary tax for those individuals over those past 9 years. All of those taxing districts have had to look and examine how much money was overtaxed as the assessor came back, and they have been reassessing the property. When Ms. Rodriguez was here, it started back in probably April, May. That was about $4 million. As they've assessed, it has risen in our area to $6.1 million in taxes. So as this recalculation happened, it has resulted in these taxing districts to have to pay back the taxes. Now, what I want to remind you of, it's not only the school district. It's also fire districts. It's our community college districts as well. So this had an impact across the state of Arizona, not just on school districts, but what we're worried about is particularly the $6.1 million that impacted directly to Cave Creek Unified School District. So these overpayments, and some of you may actually begin receiving checks. They started repayments in August, and they're planning on going through December on these payments for being overtaxed. Now, December is the target date. It may go into January, February, just like everything on this Casemeyer issue. We are just kind of waiting for the news from whether it be the assessor's office, whether it be from the auditor general, whether it be from Maricopa County Superintendent's office. So as of right now, this is the latest that we do have on this, that the payment should be complete by December. What I can tell you and as I go into it, in our cash on hand, they have begun taking out those overpayments from us. So we have been seeing that this has been happening. Now, how do we repay $6.1 million? That has been the question mark for us, but it's also been the question mark for many other districts out there. And so we really leaned in on Maricopa County School Superintendent's Office, which also helps us set our tax rate each year, on how this is going to happen. And there were multiple options. One is levying another tax. Another one was tax anticipation notes. And the other one would be using inaccessible cash is the term. You may have heard at other board meetings, dead cash being a term. It's actually now deemed inaccessible cash. And so House Bill 2909 allowed us to use our district's inaccessible cash. And what I'm going to explain is just how much inaccessible cash we had. We were waiting through the month of July on exactly how to calculate our inaccessible cash. And what we discovered is we have just over $3 million in inaccessible cash at that moment. So what we looked at for inaccessible cash is it is our spending capacity. And remember, the capacity is how much we can spend based upon our ADM or the number of students we have. That sets our budget of what we can spend. Well, actual cash on hand, because that number is a moving target, we set our rate, our tax rate each year, and it's to anticipate that this is how many students, this is how much money we're going to receive. And so when we set that tax rate, we look at that, which again is adjusted over the past 9 years. And also, if you look at when we set our tax rate, we also take in consideration delinquency. So when we set our tax rate. And so that sometimes results in having extra cash that is collected from the taxes. And so over all of these years, we had about $3 million. So estimate-wise, over that period of time, you know, the former CFOs and the former cabinet did a pretty good job in estimating how many students we were going to have. Again, resulted in about $3 million, which still leaves us with a little over $3.1 million for this settlement. Working with the Maricopa County Superintendent's Office, what we did is we, again, looked at what tax rate would be needed. Again, this is just for CCUSD, not the town of Cave Creek, not for any of the community college districts, but our rate would be 0.1138 that our taxpayers will see in addition to repay that $3.1 million. So what we did is we took as much inaccessible cash as we can to offset the tax impact it would have on our CCUSD stakeholders, in this case, Meyer settlement. So do you have any questions with Case Meyer and or anything else with the fiscal year 24-25 closing of the year?
So is there anything, we don't really have to do anything as far as that tax goes? That's just something that the county does?
Yes, that is something that at this rate the county helped calculate, and that will be placed on the property tax bills. So we did our calculation portion of it and calculating our inaccessible cash.
Okay.
Are districts doing any type of information sessions or, for lack of a better word, like marketing piece around how these mistake of calculations were made? Just because you see this and it's like, oh, CCUSD is taxing us a new tax, but
well, and that still
You
remains
know.
to be seen how they're going to place it. If it's going to say Case of Meyer settlement,
Okay.
Because again, we're paying for the assessors
Yes.
with the class 3 and the class 4. So really, we were handcuffed on this.
Right.
We received the money in that was stated when we set our tax rates, and we don't set limited property values, and we depend upon the assessor being accurate. And if they're not accurate, unfortunately, who has to pay it back is the one taxing. So that's how all these districts are stuck in this situation. Now, you do see around the valley various ways. Most are using inaccessible cash and levying. I believe Scottsdale is using tax and anticipation notes. So they are the one district that I do know of that is taking that route. But this has been brought up in multiple board meetings. Again, Scottsdale, I believe, has some information about those TANs, tax anticipatory notes, on their website. But we would be more than happy if we need to speak to the community on this. But again, we have limited engagement.
right.
And Vice President Walker, I would just like to add that I know as a superintendent's group, we are very much doing whatever we can to not have our school districts listed as this is a tax from a school district, because it is not from us, it's not about us. So we're using whatever leverage we can to where it would be indicated as a Casimir tax or a legal settlement tax, something that's not directly at us, because as Dr. Plutnik said, This had nothing to do with us in terms of those things. And I know to this point, the current superintendent has done a good job. I've been out with him, and he's made it clear at public speaking events that this is not the school district that did it. It was this differentiation in terms of that Class 3 and Class 4.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4.3, assessment results from spring 2024, presented by Dr. Jensen and Ms. Hill.
Thank you, President Busby and Vice President Walker, members of the board. We're excited. This is always a fun one to share. We do well generally with our test scores, and so we've added a few extra things this year to make it a more well-rounded approach, really in line with Mr. Dolezal's 3 E's, the enroll, enlist, or employ. So we're really wanting to show that we're focusing on all 3 in Cave Creek, and while a lot of it has to go towards academics because, you know, first we're about learning and making sure that students know the basics, but then looking at some of those other areas as well. So, you got it? There we go. The purpose of this presentation is to inform the governing board members and the public on assessment results from the 23-24 school year, as well as assessment practices that we use to monitor student achievement so that we can evaluate the effectiveness of our instructional programs and provide some current results. We're going to go over a lot of things in this presentation, and as I mentioned, I'm going to add a few other things. Because I'm trying to give you a holistic view of the whole child, I'm going to ask that you hang on to your questions until the very end, because we do have a lot of it, and then at the end, we're happy to go back and flip through any slides that you'd like. So the first one is, what is the AASA? And this is, in short, the test that we give all of our 3rd through 8th graders in language arts and in math. And they take it every year in 3rd all the way up to 8th. And it takes a lot of time because of the number of tests. And I guess a positive is that the state has had us chunk it up so that students aren't sitting for one 4 to 6 hour time period. Instead, they're taking a bunch of tests that are designed to be completed in 60 to 120 minutes. I often show this, and in fact, we shared this presentation with some others just recently, because you'll hear national data and even state data that our students can't read, 3rd graders can't read, and all of that. Now, is it true that they build prison cells based off of 3rd grade reading scores? I think it is. I think it may be, because I do think that's a key indicator of students' community engagement down the road. However, this is the level of rigor that we're asking of our 3rd grade students. It's not that they can't read that passage up there, winter was coming and the birds had flown far to the south. What is actually happening is that we're asking them to then identify the main idea in the last question that isn't shown up there. And then in part B, we're asking them to now provide 2 details that support whatever they claimed as the main idea in part A. So if they missed part A, they have no chance at part B, because they've already, I guess they could get lucky, but they're not going to get part B correct. So ultimately, I just want to be clear that it's not a identify the noun, identify the verb, identify the adjective type of test that we may have taken back when we were in school. Instead, it's asking students to read a text, engage critically with it, and then extract some ideas from it at all levels. Here's an example of the writing portion of that same 3rd grade ELA. So you only see parts of this because, again, this is all computerized tests. They are asked to read a passage, and then over there on the right, you see it says, write a multi-paragraph essay expressing your opinion about whether your school should have a pet food drive or build a garden of native plants. Explain why your choice is better than the other. Use information for the sources in your essay. Again, that's a high level of rigor, asking our students not only to form an opinion, which can be difficult, but then to root that opinion in evidence from the text. They can't just go off on their own. Again, I felt like I had a good education growing up, and I know in 3rd grade I was writing stories about if I could fly to the moon, what would I take with me, and imaginative stuff, which was great. But we've definitely changed the level of rigor and expectation for our students. Going on, I wanted to share some 8th grade math questions, because 8th grade math nationwide, again, this is not just a Cave Creek issue, there's always a dip, and you see it decline. There's a lot of different explanations for that. None of them are good, in my opinion. Every single one poses a problem. But the test, again, is hard. So if you look at the question on the left, they need to know what the formulas are. They need to apply the right formula for calculating, I believe that's the volume of the sphere, of the cylinder. I'm sorry, the cylinder. Oh boy, I better get my geometric shapes right. That was kindergarten. Of the cylinder. And then they need to calculate that not once, but 6 times, because really they need to solve all 6 of those, because if you read the question, it says, mark all that apply, or something to that effect. I can't read it from here right now, but it's like, which of the following answers are correct? So, does anybody want to venture a guess as to how many possible combinations there are that could a child could guess on this one? They could guess A, they could guess AB, they could guess ABC, they could guess ABCD, ABCDE. 32 is ultimately what they need to get. So there is no such thing as just guessing and hoping you get the right answer. That would be a very long shot. Then you see the next question to the right. A plot graph, you're needing to know y-intercept, you're needing to know how to solve your algebraic equations. A lot of vocabulary there. So if you're an English learner, you also need to know what is consumption of coal. And I guess you technically maybe don't need to know it, but it would certainly help you to know what those vocabulary words mean in order to solve that, that question over there. Again, 32 options for that. Here's a table that shows our scores last year. As you can see, in all areas, we're well above the state. That doesn't mean there's not still concerns that we're addressing in our department and that we're wanting to constantly be improving and making changes, and also digging in, because some of those, it's specific situations where we'd say some of those students maybe went through 3 teachers in 1 year, and perhaps what's the effect of that situation on some of those as well. Okay.
There's a lot of assessments that we get to give here. The next one that we're going to talk about is the AZ-SCI. It's given in 5th grade, 8th grade, and 11th grade. The 5th grade test equally covers the standards that students are taught and learn in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. 8th grade covers 6th, 7th, and 8th, and then 11th grade covers all of the high school standards. So in looking at it, again, we wanted to show you an example of what a question is from AZ-SCI. This is our 8th grade question. Again, they have to read 2 different things as well as compare. So oftentimes there are diagrams. There's very content-rich and explicit vocabulary within these. And then, as you can see, which statements best describe characteristics of the model ecosystem inside the terrarium shown, select 2 correct answers. So if you're not a strong reader, or if science maybe necessarily isn't your jam or a high interest area for you, this test, which has 3 parts to it, can take a lot out of a kiddo. And so we wanted to kind of show you that this is, again, the level of rigor that our teachers are preparing them for, but that it is not just an easy test of like name the planets in order. When you look at our AZ-SCI scores, they are above, for the most part, our state science scores, and the one where there is a dip, we have worked within the last year to course correct our course catalog, specifically within the area of science, where we scored below the state average. So now making sure that our students that are at the high school have an explicit pathway specifically for science, where they are going to hit those 28 essential standards that are covered not only on this test but on the ACT, and are going to prepare them for life and being college and career ready. That's definitely an area that we're focusing on as well. And having our teachers that are standalone subject areas as well, just for science within the middle school, going up to collaborate to see how can we help bridge that between 6th grade to the middle school, because again, it is a lot of standards to try and cover. All right, ACT Aspire. Just when you thought we're not done testing, we are not. This is the test that we give in 9th grade. It is almost the precursor to the ACT. It is our state test. It took the place of the ASA. So the ACT Aspire helps gauge kids' student readiness. It mimics the ACT in that it is a timed test. It is given all in one day. So our students currently right now are getting ready to take the Horizon benchmarks, which help prepare them. The biggest thing for our high school students is that timed capability. So you have 45 minutes to answer English. You might have 60 minutes to answer math. So you've got to work at a fairly perky pace. When you take a look at ACT Aspire as well as ACT in our next slides, we really not only want to compare ourselves to how we're doing in the state of Arizona, but we want to look at ourselves on a national level. So as you can see in that first little group up there, Cactus Shadows, our teachers are doing a fantastic job as well as our students comparatively with the state, and then we are right in there with national norms as well. So very excited to see that. When we shared this with the Cactus Shadows teachers, they again had an opportunity to dig in really to the data and see where they can continue to help our students get stronger so that they can be successful. The ACT is our state test, but it is also a national test that many universities use as a college entrance and exam. We're lucky here in the state of Arizona that all of our kids get to take it. So it's important to note that. So when you're comparing our scores, Arizona, all students, regardless of whether or not they're college bound, take the ACT, but nationally, that's not true for all states. Most of the kids that would sign up to take it would have to pay for it individually, and then they're choosing to go to college. So that's always just something to keep in the back of your mind. It's a great test in that it helps with college and career planning as well as education measurement. Kind of compares you not only statewide, nationally, and then many universities use it as the qualifications. The score is based out of 1 to 36. Again, it's based on those same particular areas: English, reading, math, and science. And the average national score has gone down a little bit. But for reference, if you're not familiar with it, if you score a 20 out of the 36, it means that you're slightly above the 50th percentile, or 50% of the kids who took the test. If you look at CCUSD compared to the state of Arizona, again, you can see that we are above. Again, nationally, we are right in there, if not above in certain areas. The national 2024 scores have not all been calculated because there are, again, we take it as a state test, but they continue to offer it throughout the year. So those scores are being calculated as well.
So like I said, this is going to be a holistic presentation. So we also have other things. So we've talked about all of these state required tests. We also have all of these measures. So go ahead and we'll click to the next one.
So we're going to talk about advanced placement classes. This is the list of advanced placement classes that are offered here at Cactus Shadows. You'll see that we have the students that passed the exam as well as the number of students that were enrolled. So that's the percentage passing. If there's the little asterisk, it's 10 or less students took that test or may be enrolled in that class. The important thing is our AP classes, a 3 is considered a passing score, and that also counts in our college career and readiness indicator, which is a part of our Arizona State report card. But to get college credit, you have to score a 4 or a 5. So that's something just to keep in the back of your mind, that we have a very high percentage passing, but when we look at that, we have to remember the cut score is a 3. So that's just something, as we further delve into it, you'll see why. These are our IB classes and exams. Again, number of students enrolled, number of students passed. And then I wanted to show you just the percentage of our students passing is 74%, but the cut score for our college career readiness indicator, which is that CCRI percentage, you have to score above a 5, which is very hard to do on our IB tests. And so we are not capturing fully in our state report card all of those kids. We're not getting points for them. So that's kind of what that percentage means, why there's 20%. And that leads us into the dual enrollment. Dual enrollment as part of our CCRI points, that college career readiness indicator, you get half of a point if you are just enrolled in that class and you get an A, B, C, or D. And so that again figures in, and that's why dual enrollment is going to be one of our push. Not only because it guarantees that our kids are going to get college credit, but it also helps us in our state letter grade as well. AP is fantastic, and so are IB, but we really need to explore this option so that we can make sure that our kids who are putting in this much time, this effort, and then our families who are also paying for these exam fees are recouping what they're hoping to get. And I can speak to that personally as a parent, that I've had my own son take AP classes. Luckily, he got a 4 or a 5, so he gets that college credit. If he had scored a 3, I'm still super proud of them, but again, I'm kind of out the $200+ for the AP class, and then we're still going to have to take it when we get to college. So that's another benefit of the dual enrollment. Patty, did you want to keep talking?
No, that's great. And just on the downside of the dual enrollment is it requires the teacher to have a master's degree in the area that they're teaching, which is our biggest challenge. And we have many of those teachers who have that master's degree in their area of teaching who are nearing retirement and are telling us their plans of what they're coming up with. And so we're trying to come up with other ways to incentivize this, because it not only helps our school with the letter grade and giving us that CCRI, those what we're going to explain as the CCRI points, but it helps our students a ton, because that saves them so much money when they get to college. And so for the 23-24 school year, you can see up there, we had 265 students earn college credit with dual enrollment. So that's excellent.
So again, another point of pride for us. Another point of pride is our career technical assessment classes. So these are our CTE classes that we offer. You can see the list up there, but the technical assessment is given the second year that students are enrolled within the CTE program. And out of 168 students, 148 of them passed the skills assessment. So again, it gives us points on our CCRI, but more importantly, it gets our students ready, and it gives them certifications that we'll see in the next slide that they can take right out into the workforce. You can also see that our finance, our software, app and design, and our sports medicine classes, which are highly sought after and attended, had 100% pass rate. So our teachers are doing a great job preparing our students not only for this exam and the workforce, but they're learning a lot as well. And you can see this within our CTE industry certifications. Again, it's offered in year 2, so that there is a commitment where our students need to stay with us in those programs for 2 years. They are given the opportunity to prepare and sit. They are approved through the Arizona Department of Education, and again, we gave them in culinary, sports medicine, video production, and customer service, and these are certifications. 78 earned industry certification that whether or not they choose to go the college pathway or not, they are able to take that into the workforce with them.
I want to interrupt real quickly.
Yep, go ahead.
Go back to
Next one.
right there. So back in 2022, Erin Scherer came and she became our director of career and college and career readiness, but basically CTE. Prior to that, we did not have that as a position. That was like an administrative assistant position where they just kind of kept us legal with the grants. But we really tried to invest some dollars there, and it has paid off, because in 2022, we had 75 students take the exam. Compared to now, 168 took the exam, 148 passed the exam. In 2023, we only had 90 students take the exam, 77 of them passed. And so we have steadily increased those numbers. And then go ahead and go to the next slide, just because I jotted these numbers down. Here, I'm sorry, go back one.
Go back
there
one
we
more.
go. There we go. Where we had 78 students pass the industry certification. In 2022, we didn't even offer the certifications because we didn't have students completing. They were just hopping around with their electives instead of completing those course pathways. So now they're finishing with a certificate, something that they can take and say, I'm qualified to do this skill, and moving on. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry now.
The Arizona Diploma Seals are another thing that helps earn us points on our College Career Readiness Indicator. index, but it also is an opportunity to celebrate students who've gone above and beyond. So currently we have them in the Seal of Arts. We had 10 students receive this, so that's the fine arts of theater, music, and art. Then we also had our Seal of Biliteracy, which means they have completed at least 3 years. They've passed proficiency on a foreign language exam, and 30 students received that. And this is just from our cohort 2024, so our graduating seniors. And then above and beyond that, CCUSD offers the Seal of Biliteracy and a Global Seal of Biliteracy, which are kind of our own brands of seals to kind of celebrate those students who want to go above and beyond. They have a commitment to not only the community, but they take part in different activities that really exemplify learning about the culture. And so that's another point of celebration here. This is the College Career Readiness Index, and you've heard us reference it a lot. It's because it's 20% of the high school's letter grade. So when we're looking at that letter grade, it's not just how well are our students doing proficiency-wise and growth on the tests, but they're looking at specific numbers of how are our students doing it. Are they having the opportunities to have not only academic, but these CTE experiences as well? Are there opportunities for the diploma seals? And so this is from our recent CCRI that was just turned into the state. You can see the points earned for Cactus Shadows.
So as always, we'll talk about with data, that always drives our next steps. I put red check marks next to things that you should have seen for multiple years now because we've been working on them multiple years. And so I did put checks because we have accomplished some of them, but I'm constantly telling the teachers the job's not done until we retire. So we're constantly doing those things better. We need to continue to increase our rigor at some of our levels. We need to continue to align our assessments to the standards that we're deeming essential. Maybe we need to reevaluate what do we deem essential. Just as Emily mentioned a little bit earlier, we needed to realign some of our courses at the high school to make sure that our students were being taught the standards that the science test was testing. We found that there were pathways where they were avoiding some of the things that may have been difficult for them. So we've closed up some of that. Ultimately, our A through F ratings, which we get every year, will come out in November, and so you'll hear some of this again in November. And then the thing that we've really added this year that we want to add as a focus is that increasing the number of students who are earning our CCRI points, I'm going to call it, for Cactus Shadows through dual enrollment and CTE courses. So those, and the way we're looking at that is we have a lot of students at Cactus Shadows like Aviva who do IB and AP, and they probably earn us a lot of points. She probably gets us, 40 points. No, I'm kidding. Not that really, but a lot. They're capped at 6. We can't get more than 6. Mm-hmm. And so we want to get more kids who are getting us 2 and 3 points. We have some students who earn 0 points, meaning all they did was sit in a chair at Cactus Shadows 4 years. I mean, I'm exaggerating. It's not that bad. But they're not ending pointy. They don't have a resume when they're done. They don't know what their next steps are. And so those are the students we really want to capture, especially through these courses, the dual enrollment and the CTE courses, to make sure they have a purpose. They know what we're going to do in year 13. And so that's really our focus over the next year as we're redefining our course catalog and looking at everything that we're doing. With that, I'm sure you have some questions, so let us know, and we're happy to jump through on slides if you need.
Thank you. That was a very good presentation. Questions?
Yeah, I'm going to go back in the order as I was jotting notes with AZ Sci.
Mm-hmm. If you're dizzy, don't look at the screen. Whoops, there we go.
Yeah. And mostly, I know, so that dip is with the 11th grade and having an 11th grader right now and 8 kids going through the district. But I know the course catalog, was that had to do with all the chemistry? I know we had a lot of parents question that last year at the course catalog because that seemed to maybe pull that gap.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up, Vice President Walker. Yes. So we did not have students taking biology, physics, chemistry, which there's some other ways that we could meet it, but given the staff that we currently have, given their talents, their strengths, and the recommendations, and looking at those essential standards on those tests, those 3 courses are absolutely crucial. When we looked back at the data, I've lost it at the moment, but I'm going to find it.
87%.
Thank you. 87% of our students who went through that pathway passed or met the standard on the ACT test for science. The students who did not, I believe, was 38%. Let me look here. Let me find it. I got my stuff out of order because I pulled it.
And while she's looking for that data, I can say, as someone who actually proctored this with our kids last year, 11th grade, it was our cohort 2025. So this is our seniors this year.
Okay.
And I have a senior who did not take the traditional pathway. There were a lot of students who said to me during the test, Miss Hill, I've never seen this content. And I was like, you know what? You got to try your best. And so that, again, spoke to the reason why we needed to kind of course correct and make sure that our kids were getting exposed specifically to those chemistry standards, because we did a really good job with the life science and the physical science, because most of our kids would take some physics classes, but it really was those chemistry standards that the 28 that the state has said where our kids were really lacking. And then some kids hadn't taken physics or chemistry. So their last true, they've had a bunch of life science. So I wish they'd killed it on the life science standards, but
So
that was something that they did struggle with.
Yes, thank you. So it was 38%. So if they hadn't taken all 3, it was 38%. They had 38% of those students passed versus 87% of the other students took it. So it was, that was very clear data to us right there that we need to course correct immediately, not even slow roll it with our freshmen.
Thank you. For dual enrollment points, I know we already have a lot of staff that, even within the same classroom, they teach the AP and an IB.
Mm-hmm.
Do those same ones teach a dual enrollment as well, or is it a completely different certification?
It's a good question, Vice President Walker. So no, you do not need a master's degree to teach the AP test. And that's one of the things we're looking at and we discussed today. In fact, the AP teachers usually also get an incentive for students who pass the test, and the dual enrollment teachers do not. So they're teaching with a higher degree, but less
Incentive. They don't.
incentive.
And is that incentivized by the
Through-
state?
Mhm.
Okay.
So we're
through
looking to see
grants.
what can we do with PVCC, because they're the ones who partner with us to incentivize it. Because if we can't figure something out, we're going to have to look at some other more creative options to find teachers who are qualified to teach it.
And then also on the CT certificates, I think one we had was called like Business 101 or Business 102, but that has nothing to do if you're going to take the enroll college path for like business. It's just a certificate, correct?
So it's a certificate, but it does count because it's Finance 101 and Finance 102. So it can also, but that teacher unfortunately is not
You'd have to be dual
cert.
enrollment.
You'd have to be dual
Okay,
enrollment.
so you
for
can
that.
kind of double dip. Do you get double points if it double dips?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
In certain areas you can. It gets a little, it's quite a complex,
Game to play.
Just trying to
It's
give
a
my
complex
children
game.
to give as many points as possible.
no, well, and I think that's the bigger thing is we're excited that we are able to offer so many AP classes to our students because we do not have as many master's level teachers within those certified dual enrollment, but Emily's opinion, dual enrollment's probably like the way to go if you want to make sure that your kids are definitely going to get college credit.
And also about the CTE, does that include our offerings with EVIT? Is that part of those numbers, or is that
Yes.
completely
Yes.
separate? That is. Okay.
Yes.
I think that's all I have.
As long as they complete.
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes they drop mid-semester. So as long as they complete, then yes.
Okay. And thank you. I remember when we brought the Seal of Fine Arts, so I think that's awesome, especially since we get points. We'll leave it at
We've got
And
a long
we're-
ways to go, but we've come a long ways.
And
too,
we're
so we
excited.
celebrate
I
that.
know Mrs. Scherer is working with Miss Boots, who teaches the finance, to look at the personal seal of finance, which will also give our kids another accolade. And then Mrs. Barella and I were just talking about the civic seal as well. We think we've found someone who wants to spearhead that at the high school, and so there's another sale that then we can offer our students as well.
And Vice President Walker, I just wanted to make sure we're clear that although we're talking about points and this, it really is about points or a demonstration of what our students are earning and doing. So it's about our kids. A result may happen to be points. Points are just a way we can actually really measure, hey, we're doing the right thing by kids and they're getting down those pathways.
Yeah, I think this is just great awareness for the community of understanding, especially in the beginning, you're going, oh, well, we're only 60% proficient. And I think whether we call it points or whatever, just all the data that goes into what the public school is offering and kind of the criteria that we're measured upon. So thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Did you say there were 3 sciences that weren't offered one year? Biology?
No, so they've been offered all of along. Good question, Member Ulmer. So they have been offered all along, but there was a kind of a popular, people were wanting to take geology or zoology in order to, it was an easier science. And, high schoolers, when, 5 of them do it, then 10 of them do it, and then 20 of it just multiplies. And so we had a lot of students who were kind of trying to skirt some of the more difficult classes. And, I think we all did it in high school as well. and you avoid and try to make it as easy of a path as you can. Or just, that's not my strength, so I'm going to avoid it. So we've kind of cut it where you have to at least be exposed to it. You don't have to love it. But we can all do hard things, and so we're really pushing hard with that. And we've worked with our teachers to meet the students halfway is the best way I can say it. So you might not love chemistry, and you might not go be a pharmaceutical anything or whatever it may be, pharmacist, but you at least need to try it and learn the basics and be exposed and understand parts of it.
And remember, it's really hard to expect someone to do well on a test that they haven't learned the material. So if this is what the state is anticipating or expecting of us, then at some level we hold an obligation to make sure that we're exposing them and teaching them those things.
And then going back to the beginning of those dismal-looking slides, you brought up a great point, Dr. Jensen, in terms of that things have changed over the years, like what you saw in 3rd grade. I don't even want to go back to when I was in 3rd grade. All of that's changed. And so it sounds like there's some kind of a disparity. And this is not a call out to the district. This is just in general because, everywhere you read headlines about how test scores are so down, et cetera. How is that what are we doing to combat that? And by we, I don't just even mean our district. I mean the broader scope.
Well, another great question, Member Ulmer. So first of all, I think you all should give yourselves credit because I read in your norms that you said that you want to spread positive things about our school district. So I think that's the first way we combat it is by making sure people are aware, hey guys, when they say that there's only this percentage of students passing this test, have you looked at the test? Can you pass the test yourself? Have you sat down and read with a 3rd grader? Because 3rd graders are great readers. I would argue they're much better readers than they were back when we were all 3rd graders and we were still sounding out words. So I think, first of all, just educating the public on what these tests mean. 30%, that doesn't mean that, kids can't read. They can read and they do a great job reading. And then what we're doing is making sure that we are dipping down, which, much to the chagrin of some kindergarten teachers, they are the new 1st grade, and they are teaching children how to read in kindergarten. It is not just a play-based, let's learn how to sit on the rug and cross our legs the right way. Instead, they are learning to read every single day, and by the end of kindergarten, those students are reading. And so a lot of it is lowering, bringing that back. The high standard all the way down to kindergarten and 1st grade and then 2nd grade, stair-stepping it up. We have assessments that we provide for our kinder, 1st, and 2nd graders as well so that we know, are they on track to pass that test in 3rd grade? Does that kind of answer some of it?
And Member Ulmer, I'm going to add and just be blunt here. We're also fighting ignorance and fear. and a very calculated attack on public education and a narrative about how bad it is when, in fact, if you look at what we're doing, we're serving our kids quite well. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, especially being here and visiting classrooms and just seeing the broader thing, talking to kids at graduation. I mean, you definitely, I should say, I definitely experienced that just being out there. But I do think, you know, much to what you said, and that was part of the reason for my question, that is how we become good marketers of our district, excuse me, and the positive things that we're doing is to better understand, to be able to say, well, let's walk that back a little bit before we're just looking at test scores and thinking it equates to the same thing as 30 years ago or whatever. It's slightly different, and so that I appreciate the presentation and that better understanding of looking at that and seeing what they're being tasked to test to and how we can communicate that.
And I would just add that during our PLCs specifically, because K3 is early childhood and that's where my heart is, our third grade teachers have a definite, they've shown this to our K1-2 teachers, and they've collaborated together and actually are trying to find ways to make it developmentally appropriate to marry that developmental practice that they like to have, but yet still prepare our kids. So if that means getting into School City and making sure that our kids have at least seen what it's like to navigate on a Chromebook, if it's making sure that we're reading not just literature, but informational text as well. So we're exposing our kids so the minute it gets to third grade, it's not just on our third grade teachers. I would say a big shout out to our K3 team who have really kind of taken on that and really are trying to support our learners the best that they can.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I got a quick question. So on the ACT, the scoring, you said obviously Arizona has to take it as a state, correct?
Yes.
And then nationally, that's not the case.
No.
So then one could challenge the numbers in the sense to our favor because we have a mass population that's taking it. So the fact that we're scoring high against a lower set of numbers would mean we're actually doing a better job.
That is correct, Member Moore.
Yeah. The problem that we have, and I think that I support you, Superintendent Dolezal, is a misconception of number manipulation. Mm-hmm. When you look out at the numbers that are being posted across the national average, is they're manipulated. Because, again, a charter school can manipulate who they take. I mean, you take basis rated at number 1. Well, yeah, I can select who I want to bring in at the caliber that I want to bring in. I can hold a wait list and be very selective to ensure my test scores are extremely high. Mm-hmm. So I think that, to the point of ignorance, I do think that there has to be some breakdown in the numbers and how we approach things, and also transparency into what we're actually teaching, which I think we're on that mark. So
I think, and just to kind of touch on that as well, and then private schools don't have to take any of these standardized tests.
No.
And then also, because we are a public school, on the flip side, every student is taking this test, whether you're English as a second learner, you have an IEP or a 504, every student is taking this test, and that's in the data.
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct, Vice President Walker. And one other caveat is that while some of our students have a 504 or an IEP, so they get accommodations on certain things, the ACT is very picky, and Ms. Hill has to go through and justify absolutely every single thing that when we give an accommodation or when we do not. So just because they've had extra time for a long time, the ACT might look at it and reject it and say, no, you don't get extra time.
yeah,
Sorry.
calculators.
And then we reapply, and I say, no, they really do use it. And they say, can you show me how many times they've logged in? So they are very particular, and we've gotten better this year at specifically working with our ESS team and our counselors and our 504s to make sure that when we're writing those, we're writing them to be test successful. So it's not, I get this accommodation all the time, why can't I have it on this national exam or on this state exam? So really, again, communicating that with our families, reaching out to our families, letting them know.
And I'm just also going to point out, I'm sorry, I'm going to take this moment, because when we go to these types of meetings, where we share our data with some of the other school districts, we always laugh because other districts show up with an assessment team, and they've got a director and they've got a couple coordinators, one who does ACT and one who does the AASA for elementary, one who does it for the middle, and and then somebody else who does all the data crunching later on. This is our team right here, and so Mrs. Hill deserves a big kudos to her, because she is the team and she spends a lot of time going back and forth with some of our testing agencies to make sure our students get what they deserve and what they need.
Well, thank you for all your hard
You're
work.
welcome.
I have one quick
Yeah.
question. You referenced, I think you said 28 essential standards for science. How often does the state change their standards?
So those ones, I believe, were adopted in 2019.
Okay.
And so they're pretty current, and they're very explicit. If you have, we've had multiple conversations over at the high school with our high school team, looking at them. How can we embed these life science ones? Which ones are definitely being covered in physics? Which ones are being covered in chemistry? And then is there crossover? And so that when our students, their fourth year, do decide to take geology or zoology or anatomy and physiology, we can make sure that they're still getting those as well.
Okay.
But those ones are probably the most updated by the state.
So they don't update very frequently?
I think it costs a lot of money and time, because they have to bring together a whole task force, and so 5 to 10 years, I would say, something like that.
Okay.
And also a huge shout out to our science team. I mean, I know that doesn't look good up there, but they do a great job of digging into that data and saying, what do I need to improve in this area? And they love the data, and they dig right in, and they've been great to work with.
They do, and they really want our kids to learn to love science and be successful in science. So I can say that in that our conversations with them, they are open to the feedback, because they don't want to only have a 24% passing rate. They want to do better, and they know our kids can do better.
Hats off to everybody that's involved in this, all of the teachers across the board, because there's a lot of work that goes into this. And, it's a testament to what we're trying to do in this district. And both of you have really worked hard to put this together to help us understand. And I appreciate it, and I know everybody else sitting up here does, so thank you very much for that.
Well, and I again, a shout out to the teachers and all that, because to your point, I mean, it's kind of like baking a cake and the center falls. Like you want to put out a good product, and so I know that it has to be disheartening to teachers when they see those numbers. So let them know that we're championing them.
Do you have a question?
Absolutely.
I just had a couple of things.
Yeah.
First of all, it's great to get all these numbers, and we just have to remember that this is a thing in the making of the whole child. So having, some of these kids really love these tests, not too many of them, but some of them do. And others, as someone that gives these tests every year, it's approached with dread by a lot of kids, and yet still what we're seeing is some really amazing scores up here. So it is a testament to the kids and the teachers. So I appreciate the fact that these numbers just, every time I've been here, they've always been right there or above. So it's, once again, students and teachers are doing amazing work here. So I appreciate that. Just real quick, about the dual enrollment and that they have to have a master's degree. Do we know about how many positions that we would want to have that, so that we could offer across the board whatever dual enrollment we have?
I mean, I would love at least 1 or 2 per department, and then that way also somebody doesn't get stuck with it every single year.
Right.
Or all of the, and I shouldn't say stuck with it, I think they enjoy that, but teachers also want some variety every once in a while, and to teach 5, 6 sections of the same exact thing can get mundane. So I would say, I mean, if we could get 5 or 6 new ones, that would be amazing, because we do have students. There's some other places that we could offer it right away, but 1 or 2, and I do know there's at least 3 or 4 teachers who are talking that if it's not at the end of this year, it's the next year that they'll be enjoying life not in the school.
And what are all the areas that we can offer the dual enrollment?
I mean it.
Okay, so currently we offer it in English 101 and 102 for our seniors, college algebra, pre-calculus, calculus with analytic geometry. Those are the classes that we're offering specifically this year. Last year we were able to offer it in psychology because of the teacher that we had at that time, as well as geology. But with the readjustment to our science, our geology is not being offered, but we're looking specifically more in our foreign languages. Are we able to offer those? Because we know we have a lot of students, as seen by the SEALs, that are interested in taking it for a third and fourth year, and what better way to get college credit than for those foreign languages.
Okay.
And Member Fortin, if I can kind of reiterate Dr. Jensen's point earlier, with the AP, there's an incentive to teach the AP. So even with a teacher with a master's going, well, I'm going to teach AP and get some stipends from the state for that, and teach dual enrollment, and there's no incentive there. So I know we have been talking about how do we work with PVCC, how do we work at looking at our current budget capacity to go, is there a stipend available for the teachers that are teaching that have the masters to move them from AP to over to dual enrollment in order to do that? So that's always a challenge, and I know you can't blame a teacher for saying I can get X amount per kid that passes the test over here. I can get the kids over here to pass the exam, but there's no incentive for me for that. So
Thank you for that. That was actually my next question, if there was any possibility of doing that kind of stipend. So, okay, I think I'm done. Thank you for this presentation. It's always really great, so thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Who's up next?
Okay. Item 5, action consent. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 6, old business. There is none. Item 7.1, instructional time model presented by Dr. Jensen.
Thank you, President Busby, Vice President Walker, members of the board. Administration moves that the governing board approves the instructional time model as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Item 7.2, approval of the 2024-25 superintendent goals presented by Mr. Dolezal.
President Busby, members of the board, administration moves that the governing board approve the superintendent's performance-based pay resolution. Oh, sorry, that was 7.3. That we approve the 24-25 superintendent's goals as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I'd like to ask a question. So happy to approve. I would like to put some type of a meeting note after we had our retreat when we talked about 3 additional KPIs around teacher defection, student defection, and parent survey. Can we put on the agenda maybe next time about, as much as it should apply in this case, I think it's better served as a quarterly district readout to the board, more so than a measurement to your actual KPI. But I think the KPIs are important for the district as a whole, for all of us to focus on and narrow down and have dialogue around.
Member Moore, thank you for that comment. I just want to put out that for everybody that KPIs are our key performance indicators. Some of those are listed in my goals, but then yes, we can certainly talk about defection and attraction, and then parent surveys. We can link that at the same time that we're doing the discussions here on the goals as those go on, or if that's a separate item that you'd like to talk about, we can bring that as a separate item, whatever you guys prefer.
Okay. Any other comments about this one? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. 7.3, approval of superintendent's performance-based pay resolution presented by Mr. Dolezal.
President Busby, members of the board, now we'll go to the administration would move that the governing board approve the superintendent's performance-based pay resolution for the 24-25 school year as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, 7.4, approval of superintendent's out-of-state travel, presented by Mr. Dolezal.
President Busby, members of the board, administration would move that the governing board approve the superintendent's out-of-state travel as presented. This is for the National AASA Superintendent's Conference, March 6th through 8th. It is a conference attended by over 4,000 superintendents around the country, and really is kind of the cutting edge of what's going on in education. So again, move that you approve the out-of-state travel as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
No, just enjoy, it's right around Mardi Gras, I noticed, but hey, I'm not. I'm sure that's
Member
just a
Fortney, yeah, I've actually never been to New Orleans, and everything I hear is that it's actually very dirty and those things, and don't go down alleys you wouldn't go down. But thank you.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item, where are we? 7.5. Approval of the Cave Creek Unified School District Governing Board norms and commitments for 2024-25, presented by me. Commitments have various names across.
President Busby, would you read the recommendation and get a?
Where are we?
I got it.
Yeah.
We would recommend that the CCUSD Governing Board approve and adopt the Governing Board norms and commitments as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Are there any comments about our norms? All right, then. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Item 7.6, legendary teacher resolution, which I don't have a copy of. Can you pull it up so I can?
President Busby, we'd like to move that the Governing Board approve the legendary teacher resolution naming September 26th, 2024 as Legendary Teacher Day.
So moved.
Second.
If you don't have a copy, would you like me to read it? Just so, okay.
I don't have a copy of it.
So the Governing Board resolution in support of Legendary Teacher Day, Thursday, September 26, 2024. Whereas the Governing Board of the Cave Creek Unified School District believes we have all had special teachers that made a significant difference in our lives, and whereas the Cave Creek Unified School District Governing Board recognizes that those teachers demonstrate unique skills allowing them to transform their deep content knowledge into life-changing student learning, and whereas the Cave Creek Unified School District Governing Board highly values the caring family culture created by those teachers, and whereas the Cave Creek Unified School District Governing Board understands that we often do not fully understand and recognize the profound influence teachers have on our future until we have lived our future, and whereas the Cave Creek Unified School District Governing Board realizes the importance of taking time to fully recognize the legendary teachers in our lives, therefore, be it resolved that the Cave Creek Unified School District Governing Board does hereby affirm its support for September 26, 2024 as Legendary Teacher Day. We encourage our entire community to take the time on this day and contact the legendary teacher in your life and express your gratitude for the difference they made in your life.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Just want to say, do see a lot of legendary teachers out here, so thank you for that.
Item 8.1, upcoming calendar events.
President Busby, members of the board, I'd like to send a reminder to everyone to check out our district website for upcoming athletic and club events. There is always something great going on in CCUSD. Number 2, CCUEF Golf the District is September 25th at T-Box Indoor Golf Club in Cave Creek. It's a new format, new way of doing things, but come and support CCUEF, who directly supports our teachers in the district. And lastly, it's hard to believe, but we are almost to the end of the first quarter. Fall break is September 30th through October 4th. Schools are closed all week. District is open by appointment Monday and Tuesday and closed Wednesday through Friday.
Awesome. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Meeting adjourned at 7:53.